Hey guys, I hope you're all having a great day, and I've seen a couple of comments over the past few months where some people are mentioning, hey, there's this trick my friend told me where if you strafe in Apex, there's no recoil, or something like that. And they say that it works sometimes and other times it doesn't. So obviously a lot of people don't really know what exactly this thing is. That's why I'll be going over that in this video, and I'll also talk about jitter aiming in this video because this topic is also tightly involved with jitter aiming. So I'll just quickly explain everything in this video. I'll show some gameplay footage up on screen in the firing range while I'm talking about this. Okay, so to answer the first question, I'm sure a lot of you have also experienced this in game as well, but you probably have noticed that at some point when you're playing Apex, it's like there's no recoil, or it's much easier to control your gun when you're shooting at an enemy. And then in some other times, it ends up being very hard to control your recoil, and I see a lot of people have a misconception of this as they believe that if you just strafe, you'll have no recoil. That's not actually how it works, so let me quickly explain what exactly this thing is. So in Apex, there's this thing that causes your gun to have no recoil if you're moving your mouse at a fast enough speed. Basically, if you're ADSing and your mouse is moving smoothly above a certain speed, there will be no recoil in that gun. I'll quickly demonstrate what exactly I'm talking about up on screen right now. So you might think that I'm controlling recoil. I am not. I promise you this is only side-to-side input from my mouse. All I'm doing is moving my mouse from left to right across the mouse pad. Now the reason why sometimes you'll see a little bit of recoil there is because when I'm switching my strafing direction, I also have to change the direction of my mouse moving, and so in that split second there's a little bit of time where the speed of the mouse changes and it kind of stops doing this no recoil thing, but it's only for a very small amount of time. This is more clearly shown if I just strafe in one direction. As you can see right now, I'm not doing any vertical recoil control. I'm only moving my mouse from side to side, and there is absolutely no recoil in the gun. If you don't believe me, I'll use two of the guns with the most recoil in the game in this video, and that is the Havoc and the Flatline. I'll even use a 3x scope along with this just to prove my point. So you might be thinking, okay, if this thing exists in the game, then why am I not beaming people all the way across the map? Well, that's because if you're strafing and you're shooting at someone that's far away enough, it doesn't work. This thing works close range, it doesn't work long range, because when you're aiming down sights and you're shooting an enemy at a longer distance, the actual movement of your cursor is slower, which means that you're probably not going to reach that threshold which allows your gun to have no recoil. Meanwhile, if you're strafing at a closer range, you'll have to adjust your mouse more, so then the speed of your mouse surpasses that threshold and you no longer have recoil in your gun. At least this is my understanding of it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is how it works. Now before we get into the part where I talk about jitter aiming and how it's related to this mechanic, I want to quickly go over why this might be in the game. So there's two main reasons. The first reason is that it makes your life in Apex a whole lot easier. Apex is a very movement based game, and having to control a ton of recoil in guns such as the Havoc or the Flatline while tracking an enemy that is moving all across your screen due to their close distance and their fast movement speed, well, you can see how that's a bit of a nightmare. Allowing your gun to basically have no recoil at these closer ranges makes your job a lot easier, as all you have to do is track the enemy across the screen. You don't have to worry about recoil, and I do believe that this makes the gameplay experience a lot more fun. So yes, I am glad that they added this mechanic. Now the second point is that this is most likely beneficial to console players. When you're playing on controller, your input is extremely smooth. You're moving in one direction at a very smooth speed, and that basically makes it a whole lot easier for you to have this no recoil thing. Imagine having to control the Havoc or Flatline recoil on controller while the enemy is moving all across your screen. Even with aim assist, that's going to be a pretty difficult task, and so once again, having this mechanic in the game definitely makes the gameplay experience a lot more fun. So with that being said, let's talk about jitter aiming. I do believe that jitter aiming works because of this very thing that I just talked about. When you're jitter aiming, you're moving your mouse back and forth at very fast speeds, and so you're basically always above that threshold that eliminates the recoil on your gun. This is why jitter aiming works in long ranges, because despite you not strafing or the enemy not moving, you're still moving your mouse past that speed, and so there's barely any recoil on your gun. Perhaps there will be short bursts of recoil when your mouse suddenly goes down below that threshold, but other than that, there's basically no recoil. And I'll quickly show a comparison of this up on screen right now. Right now I'm shooting at that target with only vertical recoil control. As you can see, there's a lot of side-to-side sway. Now I'll quickly demonstrate what jitter aiming looks like with this same weapon. As you can see, there's basically no recoil when you're doing this, and I'll demonstrate the same thing with the Flatline as well. Basically the same happens when I'm only controlling vertical recoil. There's a lot of horizontal recoil in there, so if you're not memorizing the weapon recoil, then it does make shooting enemies at a long range very difficult. But once again, with jitter aiming, I can absolutely nail my target. Now, I want to make this very clear. Jitter aiming really isn't something that most PC players use. It is a very small amount of players that actually use this and use it well. Okay, so now that you guys know both of these things, let me quickly tell you when you should and when you shouldn't use these. So when you're at close range fighting, definitely don't use jitter aim. There's absolutely zero point in using jitter aim because your mouse is already moving at a fast enough speed where your gun has no recoil. Now the opposite takes effect when you're shooting people at medium to long range. When you're fighting someone at medium to long range, then you can no longer really use this sort of strafing and aiming technique. This is the part where jitter aiming might become more useful. So yeah, I hope you guys found this video useful, and I hope it cleared up these questions. And I do want to make one thing very clear: jitter aiming really is only useful on a couple of different weapons. I'd say probably the Rampage, the Havoc, and the Flatline. Other than that, all the other weapons you really don't have to jitter aim. Just control your recoil and shoot in short bursts and you'll do completely fine. And if you guys want more tips like this, especially how to use different weapons at long ranges and how to control your recoil and stuff like that, just let me know in the comments. I have some other tips I can share with you guys, but I'm gonna be ending the video here because it's getting a bit long. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you found it useful. And of course, as always, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.